o'clock, we'll stop taking names, okay? So at 8 o'clock, when the last name is did, and we'll stop. So let's start the meeting. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Vijay Ramjatan. I'm the president of CEC28. I want to welcome you to our September 2020 calendar meeting. It's lovely to see all of you here. We know we are in trying times, unique times as a community, as a country, as a nation, as a globe, as an earth. We're all in trying times, and we all have many questions with few answers. And today's meeting is right before a very important time in our children's life, back to school. So I'm sure there's so much information that you want to know, questions that you have, and we want to give you a chance today in this meeting to express yourself via questions or comments. Today, we're going to have the new executive superintendent for our district, Dr. Mauricio de Govaya, on board with us today. And also, as always, we'll have our superintendent, Dr. Tammy Page. She's running a little behind, but she'll be here very shortly. And we'll be joined by President's Council, who's always here. We have a FACE representative who's here also, and all of you lovely parents and community members. We also have people who from the UFT, members from UFT, and also from CSA, who will be discussing different topics later on with us. So we have a packed schedule today. So we want to just get started and keep going. We also have each member of the council to give a little report, and also from each committee to fill us in from what they have been doing. So Philani, you said you had 2 questions. Put down your name on the list. Erica, I'll ask you one more time before we start to go ahead and make the announcement about how to put your name to ask a question or to make a comment. So before we do so, I'm going to have our interpreters one more time, Catalina, to please make an announcement in Spanish for those who have just joined us so we can get started. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Catalina, seré su intérprete esta noche. Si desea escuchar esta conferencia en español, por favor marque desde su teléfono el 347-966-4114 e ingrese el número de conferencia 111-812-76 numeral. Esta información está también disponible en el chat. Gracias.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I'll just do a roll call really quickly. Vijay Ramjatan, I am here. Barbara Williams.
Here.
Who is our first vice president? Elena Amenova.
Here.
Who is our second vice president? Erica Cooper.
Present.
Who is our secretary? Andy Matus King. Andy Matus King, who is our treasurer. Okay, not excused. Robert Tamayev.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. The council member, Ted Chang.
Here.
He's a council member also. Michael Morrison.
Here.
Another one of our council members. Howard Pollock.
Present.
Thank you, Howard, for being here. And today, my dear friends, we have the pleasure of introducing to our community our second Queens Borough President appointee to the council. As you know, the council is made up of members that is elected by the community, but we have 2 spots in the council that is appointed by the borough president. Howard Pollock was our first appointee from the borough president, and today on our meeting, we have our second borough president appointee to our council, and her name is Rajwinder Kaur. And I'm gonna ask Rajwinder to please introduce herself and say a few words, please. Rajwinder.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Rajwinder Kaur, even though it's spelled wrong over here. I will let you know later on. My name is Rajwinder Kaur. First of all, I would like to say thank you for letting me be a part of this wonderful committee to serve the community, you know. And I'm being honored to be a part of this. It's you know, it's a good pleasure. It's my pleasure to be, as a South Asian, I can be the bridge one. I'm a double graduate with the accounting and the bachelor's in law. I'm a parent of 2 kids, those who go to the public school. So being South Asian, so, and I'm in a district, I can be the voice of the District 28, which is also a South. So it's a diverse district that helps me, that is more, that will be, being on this place as a CEC, it will be more comfortable for me to help others, being a bridge between the languages, which they always face the problem.
Are you done? Yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, great. We're going to ask everyone else to please mute themselves if you're not speaking. When later on, we will mute you. We'll unmute you to speak. So, Rajwinder, we want to welcome you to our council. CEC28 is a very vibrant, active, and we are passionate about our community, our work, and our parents in our community hold us accountable for our work. And I'm sure they'll be very pleased with your participation in our community as on the CEC, and also we're here to work with you and to move, our community to a better place and to strengthen our community. So thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to work with you. My dear friends, at this time, I'm going to go to the council members and ask them if they have anything to report at this point. Barbara Williams.
Nothing at this point.
Okay. Elena Amenova.
Just as an update from the Back to School Committee, obviously everything that we are doing and everything that you're going to hear today is as a result of the Back to School Committee just reaching out to the UFT representatives that you're going to hear from today is something that we felt was important to do today for this particular meeting with everything that's going on as a result of the last week's activities. We're also collaborating with the district office, and I personally will join any district back to school meetings that will be scheduled as a result, and I think that's what we agreed upon with VJ as our president. So not going to take any more of the time here today, but we'll have a lot of great speakers and a lot of information to share with you tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Elena. Erica Cooper.
Yes, hi, welcome everybody. I just wanted to remind everyone if they could please, especially for our teachers, principals, vice president, or any parent coordinator that's out there, please identify yourself, put it on your name so that we could definitely send an extra thank you for attending. And we just appreciate all the hard work that you're doing. So again, just please write the name of the school that you represent, and we'll appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erica. Andy's not here still. Robert Tamayev, anything to report?
No, just hope we have a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ted Chang, anything to report?
Hi, everyone. I'm the chair of the Equity Committee, and just wanted to announce that we're having an event next Thursday. We're going to have a speaker talking about sort of remote learning challenges. Obviously in the spring it was a whole new environment. We all had to learn how to do remote learning, and I know we're going to find out exactly what's going to be happening this fall, but it looks like no matter what, there's going to be a remote learning component, and so we may all experience some of the same things. And so next Thursday at 5:30, the Equity Committee is going to have a guest speaker to just talk about remote learning challenges and equity issues in general. In terms of like the different student populations that might be affected in different ways, students with IEPs, students in temporary housing, things like that. And so invite the District 28 community to come listen and learn. And I think it should be an interesting event, and I'll try to post something in the chat about it. Thanks. And
we're going to have that also, Ted, on the website, correct? With all the information.
It's on the website. If you go to the Equity Committee, the information is there right now. Yeah.
Yes, and just a quickly sidetrack on that. We do have a new website. It's up. It's new. We are trying to make it more friendlier to phone users, to people who use tablets, and to make it much more user-friendly. So bear with us. The new website is up now. Again, if you have feedbacks, let us know. You can also go on our website and also put in your information that we can contact you in terms of reaching you via email for announcements from the council. Thank you, Ted. Michael Morrison.
Thank you, Vijay. I have two very brief items. One, as chair of the School Safety Committee, we continue to work with everybody getting information up on the website. And obviously this meeting has so much to do about with school safety. We'll be talking about that in a great deal. We continue to post sort of bulletins on the website as regards to any new developments in school safety. The second issue that I've talked about at the last meeting, at this meeting or the business meeting at some point, I'm going to introduce a resolution to cease the funding of the WXY diversity planning group and pause the process for 1 year. So I look forward to talking about that.
Thank you for all your work, Micah, and also again, friends and community members. Our website is the place that we spend a lot of time updating, and Micah's doing a lot of work getting all the back-to-school safety tools you need to know. So please do visit the website when you get a chance. Elena, can you please put the website link on the chat, please? Or
Already done.
Beautiful.
Already
Thank you so much. Next we have, perfect. Thank you. Howard Pollock.
Thanks, VJ. I want to thank the chair of our Back to School Committee, Elena Manova, for her hard work. And I'm always pleased to see our extraordinary superintendent, Dr. Pate. She's amazing. I want to acknowledge and thank the representatives of the CSA, the Hardworking Principals Union, and the representatives from our UFT, our amazing teachers. I want to thank them both for pushing back and delaying school openings to make sure our students, our teachers, and our staff are safer. And I have to say, on behalf of this CEC, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. Okay, so at this point, Bibi Matadin, are you here?
Hello, VJ.
Hello, there you are. So today I'm using my cell phone. That's why I can't see the whole wide spectrum of people. So dear community members, many of you may have seen this face before. As you may have known before, Paula Descartes was our previous face liaison for D28 CEC, and Paula was extraordinary. We loved Paula. She was amazing. She worked with us in a lot of ways, and Paula has moved on to the bigger and better things within the department. And we are happy and excited and looking forward to working with Bibi Matadin, who is going to be joining us as our face liaison. So I'll just turn over to Bibi to say a few words, and then I'll take it back over. Thank you, Bibi.
Thank you, VJ. Thank you for that introduction. And thank you to the members. Thank you for welcoming me. I'm looking forward to our partnership. I'm looking forward to the collaborative work that we'll be doing with the district office in order to better serve the community. So I'm excited and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, I want to introduce our amazing administrative assistant, Kreyòl Ayisyen. Kreyòl, can you just say hi really quickly? So we have a name with a face.
Hello, everyone. Kreyòl Ayisyen, Administrative Assistant for CEC28. It's good to see everyone here.
Thank you, Kreyòl. And also we have the President's Council who works tirelessly in our community, doing a lot of great work. I'll let them to introduce themselves so the community knows who your leaders in your community are. So if President's Council leaders can just introduce themselves, please.
Hi, good evening. This is Shirley Aubin. I'm co-president with President's Council, District 28, with Jessica Zillow. I just want to let the community know that as the school year is approaching, we have a lot of priorities. And unfortunately, one of those priorities is the PTA elections. So to start off the new school year, so President's Council is working with the district, Ms. Sonia Reda, our family leader coordinator, to do training with our PTA presidents. So that's one thing that we are doing right now with President's Council, getting them ready for elections and until we get virtual guidance from DOE.
Thank you so much. And is Jessica here?
Good evening, this is Jessica Zillow. Nice to see everybody. I think Shirley summed it up best because that is definitely one thing that we definitely have to get done as soon as possible is to get the elections handled for the PAs and PTAs for District 28.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for all the wonderful work that you do in the community and tirelessly sending out all these emails and making sure we are well informed. Thank you both for your collaboration and work ethic. Thank you so much. I'll ask Carolina Gomez again to please make another announcement. We have a lot of people who just joined the meeting and they may not know that we're having Spanish translations and interpreters. So Carolina, can you please make another announcement, please?
I can actually
Yes,
make
of
this
course.
one. This is Nicola. So, hello everyone. For Spanish interpreting, we're going to make an announcement for those that want to listen in, and I'll make it in Spanish. Entonces, para los que quieren escuchar la reunión en español, por favor, llamen al 347-966-4114 e ingresen el número de la conferencia 111-812-76, símbolo numeral. Otra vez, el número para llamar para escuchar la reunión en español es 347-966-4114 e ingresen el número de la conferencia 111-812-76 numeral. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. So without further ado, my dear friends, it gives me great honor and pleasure to welcome our community superintendent who has been working tirelessly around the clock. I'm sure she never had a vacation. We all never did, right? So Dr. Tammy Pate, we want to thank you for all your hard work and doing the wonderful job that you've been doing. And it's trying times. We thank you for all your work. So at this point in time, we'll have our superintendent's report. Dr. Tammy Pate, please.
It's that time of night and I'm muted. So good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be with you again. I hardly remember us being in person. This is our normal, not even new normal. It is our normal. Sir, VJ, our president, I do see my boss is on this line.
Yes.
And I would just like to acknowledge the presence of Executive Superintendent Dr. Mauricia Digovaya, and she is here. And I don't know, I know that she has she's booked a few times tonight, and I wanted to know if you would not mind if I elevated her to address our CEC.
Totally.
Thank you so
much, Dr. Pate.
Digovaya.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pate. Hello, President Ramjatan. How are you?
I'm well. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see everyone in CEC28. So I do have a presentation that I've been showing to the community. So I could start there. And then if anyone has any questions, and of course, Dr. Pate, please chime in.
Yes.
As we've been working tirelessly. This is my 14th day on the job. So I'm excited to report that there's a lot of great information out there, and I hope that we clarify any questions that you have. And to the speaker earlier who talked about the CSA and the UFT speaking up and us getting the extended time that it was really much so wanted and needed, I really do want to just impress upon the CEC that please ask the difficult questions. Please push as hard as you can push, because we want to make sure that we are in the best possible position to welcome our children and our families once we do open. It is through the difficult questions and the hard scenarios that we get better as a school system. So I'm going to start my presentation. Let me share. Am I able to share my screen? Okay, awesome.
Yes, you are. Yes.
Okay, great.
And if you don't mind, we'll probably just mash the presentation, because I know we have similar information. So where possible, I'll chime in.
Please, yeah, that'd be great. We could do it together. We could do our first presentation together. And of course, Dr. Pate, there's some things that have been added within the last 2 days, but extended start time was one of those things.
Excellent. Thank you.
We see your screen.
Okay. All right. So a little bit about me. Is everyone able to see my screen? Thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Trinidad and Tobago, came back to Brooklyn and spent a lot of summers in Springfield Gardens, Queens growing up. My favorite cousin lives there. She still lives there with her family. And so it's really nice to, not only be from Brooklyn, but to be in the borough that I spent my countless summers in. And for those of us, who grew up in New York City, how you spent your summers is what's most memorable about your childhood. So it's really an honor and a pleasure to come back and serve within the Queens community. I'm a product of New York City Public Schools. I've been working in the DOE. April marked 25 years, and I'm still smiling and I'm still interested, and I'm excited to be here. I was a teacher, a principal. I was a community superintendent in Ocean Hill, Brownsville, District 23. I've worked at the South Central level. My work at Central was everything from rolling out the Common Core standards to influencing and being a part of the quality review team. I myself have conducted several quality reviews, assessing the quality of schools and making sure that they are what our children deserve. And my last position was, I was executive director in Brooklyn South's Borough Support Office. So this is kind of a full circle role where I'm bridging my expertise as a superintendent as well as within the BCO. Dr. Pate introduced me as Dr. Digovaya. My doctoral study is in around turning around schools and crisis management. So it's not lost on me that I would become the leader of Queen South in the middle of a pandemic. I'm very versed in understanding what constitutes creating successful schools and what leaders need to do in order to manage crisis. Some fun things about me: I'm a certified life coach, and I have also certifications in mindfulness and yoga. Again, so when things get stressed out, I could teach you how to breathe and know that the breath is the one thing that we always have with us. So we're always able to, no matter how stressed out things get, turn to that and be able to, you know, find our inner peace. And another fun fact about me, one of my favorite things about me, is that I am a mom of 2 school-age children who attend New York City public schools. So when I'm giving this presentation, I am fully reminded that not only am I the executive superintendent, but I'm also a mom. I'm a mom who's facing what blended learning looks like. I'm a mom who's facing her two children going to different schools for the first time, as my son is attending middle school and my daughter will remain in her elementary school with 2 different schedules. My son has a Thursday, Friday schedule, and he's home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and my daughter has a Thursday, every other Monday, and every other Tuesday schedule. So I'm very clear of what it looks like to have to navigate this challenge. And this is why I love the difficult questions, because it helps me too as a parent for us to really come together. So with that in mind, I wanted to share that from current slide. Okay. I'm a writer, and I've been publishing articles on Medium to help me as my own therapy, to remind myself of why I do this work. So the first article I published this school year was called The 7 Pathways to School Leadership in a Crisis. And in that article, I basically lay out 7 different pathways which leaders can use to help them navigate the challenge of opening schools during a pandemic. So what I've been requesting of the community, that as I speak to different groups, is that we exercise 2 pathways together. Because I really believe that it is through the pathway of being in communication and the pathway of being the possibility that we can find common ground. There is nothing that can't be solved for if we are in communication with one another. And when we think about the possibility of what's available to us, the opportunities are endless. It is not lost on me in any way that our children are going to their first day of kindergarten, their first day of middle school, their first day as a high school senior. And when we stop and say, you know, what's possible, we open up the door for the reimagination and the reinvention of what public school has been, and the opportunity, available to us, the opportunities available are endless. So as we speak, I just request that as a community, we come together and we continuously ask those questions, the hard questions, the questions that make us better, and to know that we can create the best possibility for all stakeholders to win. So Queen South. Queen South is constructed basically of the superintendent's world and the Borough Support Center. So Dr. Pate, as you know, is your superintendent here in District 28. And what this graphic is of the Borough Support Office and how it's pretty much laid out. So you'll see me, I get to be at the top, yay me, as executive superintendent. And then the layer right beneath me are our superintendents from Districts 7, 28, 29, and the high schools. Smack in the middle is Marlene Wilkes, who is our executive director. So Marlene pretty much spearheads the work at the support end. And we have the divisions of Multilingual Learners, which supports our L students, the Division of Special Education, which supports our students with disabilities, a Director of Operations who has been spearheading the walkthroughs that you may have heard of, the air ventilation pieces, and making sure our buildings are equipped to meet the needs of our children. Brenda Trejo is our Director of Finance and HR, so she's the person who helps schools with their budgets and hiring. Rashawn Hoke, who I was on the call with, so forgive my being delayed onto this particular call, but Rashawn is in charge of teaching and learning. And Rochelle Lewis is our Director of Student Support Services. So Rochelle supports our students in their mental health and wellness areas like attendance and so forth. And last but not least, we have Tamika Stewart, who is the Director of Academic Response, whose team is responsible for our most fragile schools in Queens South. Our top 3 priorities this year, we're going to keep it very simple and to the point. Of course, we want to ensure a strong reopening of schools, the social emotional wellness of children, teachers, and other stakeholders, as we know that the pandemic has caused many stressors, everything from being disconnected from school. People have suffered all types of loss. My condolences to anyone on this call if you've lost anyone during this time, whether it's a COVID-19 or any other related calamity. And like knowing that about our children, like they're stepping back into our school buildings for the first time. Our teachers are coming back for the first time next week, and thinking about what would it look like to nurture and comfort them and assure them that they are safe and that they are well. This piece is going to be highlighted a lot throughout the year. So things like mindfulness, yoga, supports around mental health and wellness. You're going to be hearing a lot about this and how it intersects with our last priority of teaching and learning. And teaching and learning not only in terms of content, but teaching and learning in terms of making sure the needs of all learners are met. Are our L students being serviced appropriately? Do our students with disabilities, are their IEPs being met? We will not allow the challenge of running schools during a pandemic to be in the way of making sure that our children get what they need to have in regards to what their IEPs demand. So a few background pieces, just so you know. You're gonna hear me say this a lot, but the health and safety of our children come first. The health and safety of our children come first, and there's no compromise around that. So to that end, please note that in New York City, if the threshold raises above 3% of COVID-19 tests throughout the city from a citywide perspective, immediately all students will be shifted into remote learning. Again, if the COVID-19 test come back positive on a citywide scale of 3% or more, immediately we go into remote learning. Now, this is only one trigger that would say schools would close and we're going back. Other triggers would include uncontrollable outbreaks, and then that would be within the respective school or within a respective community. So even if the rates in New York City are low, but a particular community or a particular school is having uncontrollable outbreaks, then the schools would shut down. Okay, so please keep that in mind. That 3% number is extremely significant. Now, health screenings. Families, parents, please be advised that a link or an app is coming your way. And this is where we really need the support of the community to function as in one healthy-minded unit. Having temperature checks every day, the app or the link that you'll receive will avail parents to be able to enter their child's temperature so that the schools know the wellness of your child. Now, up until about 2 days ago, there would be random screenings of kids' temperatures. So in the walkthroughs that I've been conducting, we've been checking to see, have schools gotten their thermometers? Schools have gotten their thermometers. Principals are in the process of ordering their batteries so they can do these random screenings. These are non-touch thermometers where they kind of hold it in front of you and they take your temperature. There will also be thermometers that will be allowed to go home. So for families that may not have thermometers, schools will be providing them with thermometers. So they'll be able to take their child's temperature put it into the app or on the link, and self-report. Now, 2 days ago, the mayor announced, and we're still waiting for further guidance on this, and once I do, President Ramjatan, I will make sure that you get the exact guidance once we have it. But the idea that there was going to be a random mandatory testing, still trying to hear about exactly what that's going to look like, but that's forthcoming. And that would be for students and staff. So parents, again, the clarity that I would like to get for you is, what does that mean? Who's testing my child? Do I have to agree to it? Those are still things that I'm waiting to hear. But please keep the phrase in mind, you know, random mandatory testing, because we know that with the testing and the tracing pieces for COVID-19 is how we were able to control for it more. So these daily health screenings are helpful. So whether they're self-reported or they'll be conducted by the school. And my understanding of this also is the piece around the random mandatory screenings, that would start after October. So we have some time on that to get some clarity, and of course for parents to ask clarifying questions once that guidance becomes more clear. So that's the test and trace. So this particular slide, and I will make sure that you get this PowerPoint, President Ramjatan, so you can share it, and I will date it so that, you know, we're clear on, because the guidance is changing. Initially, when I did this presentation, which was last week Friday, things are changing so quickly. It was voluntary. But now they're talking about this random mandatory piece. So please keep that in mind. Nurses. We've all heard the mayor declare that there will be a nurse in place on the first day of school. New York City has begun a very robust search for and hiring of nurses so that we can make sure that all of our schools have nurses deployed to them. There's also a push to have an additional 100 nurses, like substitute nurses or coverage for absences and so forth. And for early childhood programs, there will be a health hotline staffed by nurses. That's an additional piece that's being put in place for early childhood. Now, people have asked questions around where's the funding for this coming from. New York City has leveraged its relationship with health and hospitals and their agency partners to help fund for these additional nurses. So this is an additional support that New York City is getting from health and hospitals, and that's where the additional funding has come from for the nurses. This slide is just to give you an idea of what's been ordered in terms of supplies. So I mentioned before that I'm conducting walkthroughs of schools, and this is the type of stuff that I'm checking for. So you'll see there's been hand sanitizers, disinfectant wipes, gloves, the electrostatic sprayer. That's very important because that's a deep cleaning sprayer that helps, you know, really get rid of all COVID-19 or infectious things that are contagious and so forth. With the electrostatic sprayers, please be aware that there is a solution that goes with them specifically. However, the solution that was initially sent to the schools was deemed as too much of a high toxicity. Therefore, it was recalled. And schools are now getting the new supply with the toxicity levels that would be appropriate for our children and teachers to engage with. And as we're doing the walkthroughs, we're taking count of every school at this point. And I know that there are some that haven't in Queens South, and I spoke to Dr. Pate earlier about this, when we're on it to make sure that they do get their PPE supplies. We're taking count of, did you get these pieces? And do you have at least a 30-day supply? At this point, we're in the first week of September, so by next week, the second round of 30 days, which means that we're going into October supply, should be coming into schools. And please note that New York City schools will be cleaned every day and every night. High touch zones will be cleaned multiple times throughout the day. That's your water fountains, doorknobs, light switches, those places, you know, where people are continuously touching. The custodians are working out a schedule. And please, if you see your school's custodian, tell them thank you, because they are working overtime to make sure that the buildings are looking fantastic, and not only looking fantastic, are healthy and clean, and have measures in place that they can maintain that. so that, and the electrostatic sprayers will be used to clean the surfaces as well with the solution. So those are the health and cleaning measures. Please take a note here of what's available. And again, if anyone has reported to us that they don't have these things, we're making sure that they do. So
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
I am fielding some of the questions that are coming through the chat.
Sure.
On your behalf, I do want to just elevate the statement with regard to face shields. Parents are asking questions about whether that is required, and our guidance indicates that face shields are provided to teachers, especially those who are moving from class to class, as a secondary level of support and protection for students. In our middle schools, teachers will have multiple cohorts of students they see. We want to make sure that we're taking every precaution to protect students who are in close proximity to teachers. So the face shield is a secondary protection.
Right. The masks, though, are the primary. And the expectation that students wear them throughout the day. And of course, if there are children who have extenuating circumstances where health or so forth are concerned, schools are working on a case-by-case basis to accommodate there. But to keep us all safe, the mask expectation is seen on the mandatory side. But of course, if parents have a concern about that, please raise that to your child's teacher, and we can figure out whether it's, you know, face mask breaks and so forth. But we really want to make sure that, you know, all breathing, all face droplets, you know, all those nasal droplets, mouth droplets are contained within the mask. And that's really how we keep safe. Any other questions on those slides that I sent before, Dr. Pate?
I'm trying to unmute myself. No, that is, don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so in terms of learning, I'm sure at this point you've heard the terms blended, you've heard the terms remote, and that's what these next few slides are going to get into. Bottom line, just like as we've been living this, you know, this has affected everyone. And you know that we cannot be in congregated spaces with large amounts of people. So for that reason, we are not able to accommodate 100% of our students in a school building at the same time. Okay, so there's an opportunity, parents filled out a survey to do either a blended model where they would go, where their child would attend school part-time, or they would do a remote model where their child is home full-time. In our, this is just a slide just pretty much detailing that out. In the remote piece, I do want to highlight, you'll hear the word synchronous and asynchronous often in reference to the remote piece, and the blended learning piece that comes up as well. So if your child is blended learning, I mentioned my children earlier, you know, Tasai has his Thursday, Friday, he's in school, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he's remote. When he's remote, he's going to engage in synchronous and asynchronous learning. Right now, we are having a synchronous experience. You're listening to me teach live. Dr. Pate chimed in with your questions. I'm answering your questions. Within the synchronous piece, the teacher is live and in front. And I'm really banking on this being the major improvement from where we were in the spring. We want to see more teachers teaching live. And the DOE has put out a plan around how many minutes per grade. And I could get that to you, President Ramjat, and you can post that on the website. I think that would be great for parents to see.
Yes.
Because, you know, the idea that my child was in front of a Google Classroom just doing asynchronous learning, which would be there's work posted, you pull the work off of the website, you write it down, you scan it back, and you move on to the next assignment, that would be asynchronous. I think the gift that we're pushing on this year, and the Borough Support Office that I mentioned earlier, is planning professional development for the teachers so that they would be better at synchronous teaching. So parents could expect that they can have their child in front of a screen, but the teacher is there, live with them for a certain amount of minutes a day, getting live instruction. So these are our survey results. I mentioned that the parents filled out the survey results, and CEC28, this is where I'm really looking to, maximize our relationship to get greater parent involvement. So of the students who are enrolled in District 28, 47% of the parents responded to the surveys, and 39% of those parents chose remote learning. So we want to get those numbers up to be 100%. We really want to know what our parents are fully thinking around, where they want their children to be. But we got 47% responding, and then 39% choosing remote. Now, in terms of what does it mean when you chose remote versus blended? So if you chose blended, there were basically 5 model choices that school principals, their SLTs, in conjunction with Dr. Pate, may have discussed to figure out what the program would look like. So model 1, you have 2 cohorts with consistent days, 2 days a week, and 1 alternating day, 5 days every 2 weeks, okay? Model 2, you have 3 cohorts of students with 1 consistent day a week and 2 alternating days, and they would go to school 5 days a week every 3 weeks. In model 3, this was for middle school and high school students. You had 3 cohorts on a 6-day rotation, and they would go to school 5 days every 3 weeks. And model 4 and 5 was basically available to D75 because the charge here from parents in D75 was really wanting to ensure that their children who, may have more extensive learning needs or have greater disabilities or have higher IEP demands would have access to school. And they have the students in every other week for 5 days straight, and the potential for some groups of children to be full-time, depending upon the students' needs. And what you have here is the rollout for what it looks like in District 28. Again, some of these may have been tweaked because the numbers are changing because we do still have schools making adjustments within their programs. But please note, approximately 14 of District 28's schools chose Model 1 and 7 chose Model 7. Dr. Pate, I don't know if you wanted to add anything here.
I'm trying to reduce the background noise while you present. So sorry for that. I do have a slide, and we'll show you everyone later around the breakdown, the final breakdown and approval following the district review team's work of our District 28 reopening models. I'm happy to read them off for you. I can give you numbers. 4 of our schools finalized Model 1A. 10 of our schools are 1B. 7 of our schools are Model 2. 1 of our school is Model 3A. 6 of our schools is Model 3B. Model 4A, 1 of our schools. Model 4B, 5 of our schools. And Model 5B, 1 of our schools. And I'll share this entire deck with our president after this meeting, so you'll have access to it.
Thank you, Dr. Pate. So some some hot items in terms of initiatives that have rolled out. Last week, Friday, for principals who were interested in doing this in the immediate, there was a outdoor learning initiative that was available. The idea here was that classes such as physical education, dance, theater, chorus, and band would be able to happen in an outside space. And if principals, in conjunction with their PTAs, in conjunction with their SLTs, if they felt this was something they wanted to do, they had until last week Friday for the first round. If you didn't do it by last week Friday, there's still opportunity to fill out for the survey, but if you wanted it to be prioritized, you had to submit it by last week Friday. To have outdoor learning opportunities. I mean, some people have courtyards, some people have parks nearby. Of course, on our end, my push was around safety and making sure that, the community was, not experiencing shelter-ins or lockdowns in order to make sure that, the children would be safe once they are outdoors. And the other piece was about just being aware of capacity issues, because as I said in the slide, in the previous slide, this is all about making sure that our numbers are correct. We can't have a group of students outside and then it starts to rain, and when they come in, they would have to be able to go to a secured space. So schools that are putting in for this, they're being heavily scrutinized about what's the capacity issue inside while you're outside, because when you come inside, it disrupts the flow and the population of people in the building. But more to come on this. I haven't gotten the data for it just yet. I'm assuming by Friday. Tomorrow, it's a week, so they should have run this data for us to let us know which schools are going to be available or are interested and have been approved by Central for this. With that, the ventilation in schools piece. When we talk about ventilation, we want to make sure that we're clear that it means either via mechanical or by natural means. Right? No. So ensuring that there is, the windows are operational. I know that this is a topic that came up last week, but rest assured, this has been going on for the entire summer. Custodians initially did a run through of their buildings to see which windows were operational because that was key. If you have an air conditioner in the window, the idea that the air conditioner is bringing in fresh air, so it could be a combination of natural and mechanical, or it could just be mechanical air. The engineers who have been going through have been checking for the circulation of air within rooms. Any room that has been deemed to not have air circulation is not able to be used. And I really want to stress that. If it's been assessed that the room does not have air ventilation, whether it be mechanical or natural, it cannot be used. Simple as that, right? So like when I did the walkthroughs this week, those are the things I was questioning the custodian about. There is a ventilation report today. I got word from Kevin Moran at Central.
Oh, nice.
Yes, that there will be a sheet coming out. I believe it's coming out as an Excel document. And for now, parents, just bear with us, because I think the idea was to get the information out. Now, I'm not sure how parent-friendly the information will be, but it will be like an Excel spreadsheet where you would be able to check the DBN and then check the air quality of the school. And they're working on making it much more accessible to everyone, but they wanted to make sure that they had the data. And that has been done. So hopefully, if not by tomorrow, by Tuesday, when folks are going back into buildings officially, we would be able to have that data. And of course, you could always reach out either to the superintendent's office, the BCO, myself, and we can run that for you as well if you're interested to know, well, what is the air quality and what was found to be true. And the last piece I want to leave you with, and then I'll, Dr. Payne, anything I may have missed in this presentation, because I know that a million things have happened since I made it.
No. Got it.
The Learning Bridges program. So the Learning Bridges program is going to be basically sort of like what the rec centers were in this iteration, where essential workers would be able to put their children on the days when they're in remote learning. These are, the same type of quality childcare that were given in the rec centers. The Learning Bridges program is going to take on during the course of the school year. I have the website here. Parents, if you're interested, you can sign up via that method. Families can also call 311 to put their names on the list and so forth and find out information there. Be advised that the Learning Bridges program would be operated by a community organization, a community-based organization, or other partners. The idea is that they would be able to support children with their remote learning activities, but there'll also be time for recreation and the arts, and the same procedures that will be handled, the same procedures that will be followed in school will be followed here. I don't have a slide on busing, but note that in terms of health and safety, the same measures that we expect in schools is the same measures that we would expect for busing. At this point, the busing contracts are still very much so up under negotiation, hopefully within the next week or so. And given that we've been given this extension, which I am so grateful for, so that our readiness could be 100% stronger than it would have been, we'll get greater information about what's available within busing. And with that, thank you so much for that time. I look forward to hearing any questions, comments, things that you may have heard, but I did not cover in the actual presentation. I'm here for you, so wherever you'd like to start.
Thank you so much for being here with us today and giving us this much needed presentation. We do take questions at the end, so
okay.
we appreciate, so we have like a list that we take names down, and then we'll have people ask questions. So at that point, you can take the questions. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much. Dr. Pate?
So I wanted to warn you in advance, but I find that Dr. Digovaya is always wonderful to experience. All by herself. Thank you so much for the information you shared with us today. I'll tell you a broad truth that she shared this information with us. She's been extraordinarily generous with information that she is getting at the highest level from Central, and has shared it with her superintendents. And I incorporated quite a bit of that into the PowerPoint deck that I prepared for you all on tonight. And it is also based on the pre-meeting we had with our joint leadership earlier this week, I think it is. The days are running together. And so President's Council and CEC asked that I address certain items that were all covered by our executive superintendent. There are just a few other slides, and if you want me to share the screen, I can share. But I did want to talk to you about the timeline for returning to school, and I also wanted to talk to you about our district and some of the key pieces, as well as I pulled a slide for screen time, Dr. Digovaya, so I'm happy to share that as well. And so I'll jump in. You'll see me skip past. I want you to act surprised when you see the exact same slide that Dr. Digovaya shared with you. Can you agree to do that? Wow, that's amazing. Taking your temperature. Okay, so yes, do that. And so I'm going to share really quickly. And I'll get in and out. I'll get in and out. And so the two slides, of course, this is our presentation for tonight. I'll try to present. That'll be fine. What I wanted to share with you, a couple of things. I'm going to just back through the slide deck on today. I wanted to share just the overview of our calendar of who goes back to school when, what is to date. Again, these are ever changing. This is a reflection of the agreement that was reached by our joint unions, the letters that were sent not only to our chancellor and mayor, but also to the governor. Our high school superintendent, schools also sent to our governor, employing them to give the schools more time to prepare to re-enter. And so this is based on the latest agreement that was also shared in a press conference earlier this week. We are keeping with the schedule of staff returning to school as of September 8th. They will have from the 8th to the 10th in order to begin readiness. Other staff that are returning on the same week are our support staff, UFT paras, family workers. Paras are returning on the 8th, family workers on the 9th, school aid, supervising school aid, health service aides, and lunch helpers are all returning on the 10th of September. So they will be in the schools at that time. For students, from the 16th through the 18th, we have named that Instructional Orientation. And I think that this is one of the most important pieces of guidance and decision-making that we have put together. We cannot stress enough the importance of bringing everyone along and making sure that we are ready to go before we actually go. We like to use the term building the plane while it's in the air. But if we realistically look at that, that's a plane crash. It's not a workable idea. And so what the 16th through the 18th does is allow students to reconnect with their school and with their teachers. It's an opportunity to check in on health and safety procedures. What does it mean to wear your mask? Let's practice putting it on. They are also have the opportunity to check their technical connectivity. What exactly, hoping that everything is working well. And if there are technical issues, it gives us a very small window. It gives us a little time in order to try to address technical issues. Teachers will always also do check-ins as well as guidance staff. And then on the 21st, all school begins full-time. It's a full day of teaching and learning in accordance with the cohort and the model that your school selected. And so that is a 100% remote learning or blended learning day. So as of the 21st of September, so that is there. I also, our executive superintendent spoke about testing, so I'm gonna skip quite a few of these slides. See, brand new slide, isn't it? Yes, there you go, brand new. You're supposed to play along with me, come on. All right, I wanted to share a couple of slides that our executive superintendent spoke about. So total screen time, and I'll give you a little bit of time to take a look at this. I will also share this deck with our president. But as you can see, little typo there, sorry about that. But as you can see, we really did try to calibrate screen time based on the age of students and the grade band. We know that a 4-year-old does not have the tolerance to stay online for hours at a time. You can hardly get a 4-year-old to sit down and eat broccoli. And so we wanted to be cognizant of what that would look like. Although this next generation of children are quite savvy on technology. As we go through the grade band and grade levels, you see that the time increased both by grade band and over time throughout the course of the year. So in September, a kindergartner is expected to be able to participate in 65 to 75 minutes of live instruction. By January, they're building a muscle. They should be able to participate in live instruction for a full 120 minutes or 2 hours. Our grades going all the way down to grades 3 through 5. You can see samples of what the synchronous teaching range could be for that grade band. And I'm going to skip to the next. And then these are our older children, older young adults. Of course, they have a much stronger muscle with regard to you know, being able to engage in sort of tech-based synchronous instruction. Of course, the minutes are much larger. And of course, at the highest level of the 12th grader, they are expected to be able to engage in 10 minutes of live instruction in an average day. And so there is that guidance. We want you to know that we are thinking about not just the point that we have to teach, you know, skillfully, and we have to ensure that students are learning grade level standard-based material, but also that it's done in a way that really agrees with cognitive development and their age. And so I wanted to share the models that we finalized for District 28. You will notice that some of these models were, they had to win them hard, had to argue them, and we went through a process with the district review team called the exception, and they had to prove quite a few things. If you will remember, the last time we spoke, we talked about the importance of family engagement, parent engagement in the process. And the schools that were able to be approved for models that were different from as it was explained in the Chancellor's 5 models, were schools that had an overwhelming amount of parents who expressed a different kind of learning. You desired something different. You wanted your student to have a different kind of engagement in the school. And so that was a non-negotiable for our approval process. They had to show multiple family engagements. And so this is where we settled at the end of that period of time. Where we are right now, as you know, many teachers, many staff members were able and should have requested medical accommodations. And those medical accommodations allow them to work from home. They are still fully engaged in teaching and learning and any other tasks that they are hired to do. But what that meant is that some of our schools are now slightly short of teachers in the building. And so we're going through yet another process of examining the need for additional staff based on the model that the school selected. Where there is a difference in that thing, where it does not meet, the district review team is re-engaging the school to help them troubleshoot making sure that every student in the school is appropriately matched to a teacher and other related services. That is particularly true for our students with disabilities, our students with IEPs, and for our English language learners. And so every effort is being made right now to make sure that every child in every one of our schools are getting the services and supports that they need. And that's about it. We did talk about testing. I know that this has come up multiple times within our CEC. I'm really proud of the fact that we're staying centered on the academic preparation that we're making for our students. And so this slide just speaks to the type of periodic assessments, the formative assessments we will use this year. Formerly paper and pencil periodic assessments that were used in previous years, like the performance task in ELA, math, science, social studies, physical education, and visual arts, Chinese arts assessment, and multiple others are now fully online. So we don't expect to miss a beat where it comes to formative assessment. Many of you asked, so sorry. Many of you asked last month, how will we sort of make, what effort are we making to assess students at the very beginning? And so this slide responds to that question. We will also continue with MAP growth assessment, and many of our schools have iReady as their interim and formative assessment tool. So this is important. I want you to know that we have an intention that is fully lined out, is fully explored, so that when students return to us, whether they are in a remote space or in person, and a bit of both, that we are prepared to assess and begin to instruct using these online services. Quick word on technology, and I know Sonia is in the room, but I just want to again elevate the work that we are doing here with regard to technology. To date, this is the 12,060 technology devices have been distributed in District 28. Of that breakdown, the breakdown is listed here. And so it is a moving target. You know that this is updated on a weekly basis, sometimes twice a week. In addition to that, we were the recipient of a tremendous grant from the NAACP and Congressman Meeks, who gifted to our district over 800 Chromebooks that we were able to distribute to 14 schools that expressed the most severe need. And it has to be said, so I'm going to say it. Many parents who are requesting technology have been directed by 311 that principals will distribute technology to the child when they return to school. And on the surface, that is absolutely correct. But what you have to also understand is that under my direction, every school opened their closets and distributed every piece of technology they had to families when we went into remote learning. So our situation was critical. And so I have to say thank you to Congressman Meeks, and thank you to everyone who has been partnering with us and supporting us and making sure that students have the technology they need. What this does for us in these small settings, it allows us to have dedicated technology for students in a school. They do not share their technology. It is dedicated technology in the 14 schools we were able to provide the service to. Yes, we have 35 schools and 3 pre-K centers. I'm fully aware of that. We are absolutely trying hard to get there. We have 4 schools that are in the finals for a, I'm sorry, a grant, and I just glitched on the name of the grant. A magnet grant, so sorry. 4 of our schools that are in the final phases of a magnet grant. We have great confidence that we will be successful. And when we are, see me speaking it into existence, when we are successful, we will be able to provide, those schools will be fully equipped with technology. And what has happened in the past is that those schools were able to support other schools. And so we are going to and continue to take care of each other in District 28, period. We take care of each other, period. And so thank you for everyone who has participated in getting us, sort of the questions that we need so we can provide the answers. The last thing I wanted to just throw in, and I know I'm running out of time, time, learning bridges. There was a question in the chat about parents who will need their children to will need childcare when they are on their off days and blended learning. And what is happening is, as our executive superintendent already covered, is that we are in the process of working out the learning bridges components. We are surveying every school to try to identify additional space. That is a really hard call. We are trying to identify it and will identify it so that we can provide the support that our children need. I also want to just draw your attention here. I know I promised that it would launch, but things got super, super busy. But you can look forward to CSD28 NYC as our official website very soon. Contacting us as usual. I don't have to tell you this. We have absolute rock stars in our district office in the persons of Sonia Rueda and Rosa Fenton. They are absolutely amazing. You know it, I know it. I am the happy recipient of some great work in this district. And so we just want to take that time to just shout them out and to thank them for the hard work that they engage in every single day. We will shortly send you a list of all of your parent coordinators and their contact information so that you can be in constant communication with the schools. And that is the end of this presentation.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all your hard work and dedication to this district. I know you came in running. Didn't get a chance to breathe.
We came in running.
Yes, you and your entire team at D28, we are indebted to all of you for your great work at this time and your guidance. And I want all parents and everyone on this call to understand that Dr. Mauricio and Dr. Pate also, both of them are putting all this information out here, but understand that it's changing daily. Right? It's changing weekly, and we will post whatever they gave us on our websites, but keep checking our websites, keep asking the questions, because it's changing, and as time goes along, we provide what we know is best to the entire community via our website. That's where you'll get all the latest information. So thank you both for your presentations and much needed information. We'll take questions again later on. I just want to acknowledge all our principals, our parent coordinators, our assistant principals, our administrators. We have a lot. We got a full schedule today, so we can't call everyone's names out today. So please bear with me. All of our administrators, thank you all for your work that you're doing. PTA presidents, thank you all for the wonderful work you're doing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and being patient also. At this time, we'll call upon Amy Arundel. She is from the United Federation of Teachers, and she's a representative from them, from the UFT, and she will speak at this time. Amy?
Hi, everyone. I'm the borough representative for the UFT in Queens. I don't really have a presentation. I'm just here to say hello, to answer any questions that people have about the current situation that we're in, and offer any support to parents seeking information from our perspective. So thanks, of course, for inviting the UFT and me, and thank you, Dr. Pate and Dr. Tikaway, for your presentations. I found them very informative, so thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, and hang on tight. The questions are coming very soon. Okay, thank you so much. And next we have Dorothy Morris, who is a Queens representative from the Council of Schools Supervisors and Administrators, CSA. Dorothy? Dorothy?
She's here. If she is not here, I see Principal Signal is here.
Okay, so if Dorothy's not here, that's fine, okay. So at this point in time, I will move along to just acknowledge really quickly Sujin from Senator John Liu's office. Thank you for being here, Sujin. And now we'll move to our questions and public comment section of the meeting. So can we start this time with the first person, Elena? I'll ask you to please call the names and we'll go on from there.
Sounds good. Good evening, everyone. At this point, we do have 15 people that have submitted their name with the speak in the section of the comments. If you would like to still be added to speak, we will take additional names until 8 o'clock today. so for the next 13 minutes, and then we'll go through the list. The first person on the list is Ali. Ali, she says that she's muted. You can always unmute yourself by clicking the mute button.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm concerned about the Regents and the state testing with blended learning. How is that going to come into play this year, this school year? Because I know they canceled it for last year. And, you know, are there going to be any type of preparations, study groups, and things of that nature for the Regents and state testing?
Thank you.
I'll take that, Dr. Pate, if you want to add in from there. So as of now, we're still awaiting guidance in terms of what state testing will look like. The priority is around health, safety, and reopening at this point. And Dr. Pate's slide that she showed in regards to how teaching and learning will be happening and assessing of students will be going on. What I really want to push for this school year is for the communities to understand that teaching and learning is at the forefront of what we're doing, anchored in the health and safety of our children first. So, you know, we've begun having conversations around what instruction looks like, because that's what school is about. We want to make sure our children are socialized, and we want to make sure that they are in the best possible place to learn. At this point, though, however, the state has not necessarily given us guidance around the ELA and the math exam, Regents exams, and so forth. If it were to continue to be like what happened in the spring, it could be, we could get a repeat, or we may get a delay. The difference between now and the spring is that we do have some time for some preventative measures in terms of timelining and so forth. When the virus hit in the spring, we were so in full reactionary mode that it was, you know, like 1, 2, 3, okay, we're not able to test because we have to pull our children out. So as we get greater guidance on this, I will definitely lift this question. But as of recently, I haven't heard any new updates from the state. And trust me, we know that there are parents who are, you know, you've been working for this moment to ensure that your child gets that Regents endorsed diploma. You've been working for this moment to make sure that, you know, your child's 4th grade and your 7th grade scores are where they need to be. So for middle school selection and high school selection. And, you know, what I would request here again is about that communication factor I mentioned before. We get to make this work for our children. If for whatever reason we're not able to deliver the state testing in the conventional way, Dr. Pate knows how I feel about the use of multiple measures. And we want to make sure that if our children were not able, so we do have 4th graders, for example, who don't have a state score, right? So those children will be going into 5th grade this year, right? They're rising 5th graders, and they're going to be choosing middle schools. Enrollment's going to have to make some adjustments around how our children are perceived who don't have a state score. And, you know, things like their portfolio, performance, teacher recommendations, other measures are going to have to come into play to ensure that we are being fair to our children and that their hard work is being honored. So, Ms. Ali, thank you so much for that question. I will definitely bring that up again, but note that I would say that that hasn't come to the forefront yet, because we want to make sure that we are able to actually get into schools safely. But trust and believe, you have an ally in me around what will be done for this, because we cannot penalize our children because they didn't have the opportunity because we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Thank you.
Next question. My video.
Sorry, we just have to move along so we can get most of the parents.
I just want to know, you know, that why my video was disabled. I just wanted to know.
We did not disable videos, so you could show video, and only the mute we have the mute, so we don't have other videos. So you should be able to show yourself. We want to see you, so go for it. Next speaker,
it was
please.
disabled by the host.
Yeah.
Okay, she'll work on it. Let's get this speaker going in the meantime.
Jessica Zillow is next.
Sure. So one comment is me as the President's Council. You skipped putting us on the agenda, so we should be on the agenda every month. So please make sure that we do have a presentation. Shirley and I worked extremely hard to sort of show the families and who is on the call in regards to the pandemic EBT and the school meals. That's an ever-evolving item. This is my parent hat now. So that's my first comment was as on my co-president hat of the district for President's Council. This is my own personal comment. There's all this information that is being looked at in regards to the schools and the school surveys and HVAC and ventilation. So I was happy to hear that the information will be provided. But just like when you go to look for a preschool, that you can go on the Department of Health website and you can find all sorts of violations, etc. If all this information is being compiled for each of the schools at this moment, I'm hoping that that information will be able to be searchable and be provided to the parents so they can see what the status of their schools are. And that is it. Those were my 2 comments.
Thank you for the comment. I believe the answer, so earlier I spoke to this. The idea is that there will be information available. So let's say that something comes up within the ventilation of school X and it's not appropriate. There will be a timeline in which the issue would have to be fixed. Myself, operations, and plant management would have to go to the building to inspect and see within that set time frame, has the issue been remedied, and it would be updated on the information sheet regarding the school with the date. So there will be information available. The information is going to be public.
It's great.
And as you described it, Ms. Zillow, I believe I've met you. I've met her before. Right? I've met you before. You were right. The name looks familiar. Yes, thank you. I'm like, yes, you were part of my process. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, so that information will be available, and for places where it's compromised, myself, plant management, we're going to go back, and schools will have a certain set of time to have to fix it, and then we will update the information. So yes, you on that sheet, the information I got today indicated that we would say what's working and what's not working, and that transparency would be available to all stakeholders, those who can fix it, those who need to be aware.
Thank you.
As I understand also that there is a directive that it's shared in an accessible manner with families. So there will be an opportunity for you to receive that information placed on websites, so you'll have the information. It's like those Department of Health letters that they put outside of the restaurants at this point.
Irene Rajewski is next.
Good evening. Like many others, we at Queens Parents United were shocked to learn at the last CEC meeting that the DOE is proceeding with the diversity plan during the biggest crisis of our lifetime. In light of all the budget cuts across the city, especially within the DOE, it is unfathomable that the DOE is proceeding with the plan by rehiring WXY under unclear circumstances and once again with no public input. No one knows for certain what school will look like whenever this pandemic ends, and what inequities and deficiencies our district schools might face at that time. How can there be any discussion at this point about diversity until we get through this pandemic and then assess the situation at hand to determine what our district actually needs? We may end up with a completely different set of issues and priorities. As such, we fully support the motion introduced by Micah Morrison at the last CEC business meeting to immediately halt the resumption of the existing diversity plan and to dissolve the WXY contract so that our district can start anew after the pandemic is over with a process that begins, proceeds, and ends with complete public engagement and transparency. We strongly urge the CEC to introduce the motion for vote at the next business meeting. As we all know, the diversity plan was not something our CEC had requested and was a top-down DOE mandate for our district to ultimately dezone or rezone our middle schools and shuffle children around rather than fixing the schools in need. The outcry from parents throughout our district underscored that it was not diversity that was the problem, but lack of resources and what some called inequitable resources among schools. What our district needs is not a diversity plan, but an equity and excellence plan if what we're trying to fix is in fact inequity of resources and not simply diversity for the sake of diversity alone. However, in order to fix any resource inequities, we must first identify what those inequities and deficiencies are, and only then can we engage in public discussions as to how they can be best addressed. It appears that the main concern of the families in our district is that there should be quality of education and academic achievement in all schools, regardless of their location within the district, or their racial or economic composition. Therefore, we propose that any remaining funds for the diversity plan be allocated towards commissioning a comprehensive study by an objective, non-DOE affiliated party to do a school-by-school comparison within our district to determine what our elementary and middle schools might be lacking and to determine the various contributing factors impacting academic achievement. We believe that the money set aside for the plan would be much better spent on such a study that will actually identify the areas we need to focus on, rather than be spent on a DOE-selected architectural firm that is in the business of implementing racial quota plans across the country with zero emphasis on improving academic achievement for all students in a given district. We're confident that the commissioning of such a study would be supported by our local elected officials, our school district parent community at large, and hope our CEC will also support such a consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Irene. There was an ask by the Spanish interpreters to slow down. It was very hard for them to interpret it, but I know you were trying to get it in under 3 minutes. Thank you. We are gonna, up next is Jean H. Jean H, are you here? Please unmute yourself.
Sorry, I couldn't find myself. Okay,
No problem.
hello everyone. Welcome Dr. Degovia and Ms. Kaur to our District 28 family. I agree wholeheartedly with the previous speaker. The diversity plan process has never been a transparent process. The working group members were selected behind closed doors by a handpicked DOE consultant whose rezoning analysis for a school district in Maryland is now the subject of a lawsuit for being racist towards Asians. In addition, every single parent I have spoken with is having major anxiety over returning to school. Most parents don't know who their teachers will be, if their school has been cleared for safety, childcare concerns, transportation issues, etc. This is not the time to be spending additional resources that we do not have on a consultant that breeds divisiveness. Also, many families have moved away. Enrollment numbers will be off for the next few years. This plan should just be delayed. We need and deserve a true community process and a diversity plan that is community-led and not community-fed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nirmala is next.
Hi, everyone. Good night. My name is Nirmala. I'm one of the founding board members of South Queens Women's March, and I'm just here today to share a little bit with all of you about our organization and one of our upcoming events that I think will be really helpful to the youths and young adults in our community. So South Queens Women's March was essentially formed at the beginning of this year to really help curb gender-based violence in our community, but a lot of our work has shifted as a result of COVID. So we've been filling a lot of needs that we've been seeing in our community. So whether it's essentials giveaways for masks and menstrual products, or food pantries, or Wellness Wednesdays, providing platforms for folks that can't leave their house, you know, Sokasais, yoga, Bhangra. So we've been trying to do a wide variety of different things, but a lot of youths have come to our programming and have been asking about networking events and opportunities because, you know, the uncertainties of school, as we've been listening to in this discussion, and we really want to provide these opportunities for the students in our communities because, you know, there is such a lack of access to those resources. So South Queens Women's March is planning our first ever youth mentorship series. So it'll be a week-long series where youths and young adults will have the opportunity to meet with professionals from a wide variety of different sectors. It will be in the final week of September. So I will go ahead and share the survey here. The way in which we lead is by listening to our community and what they need. So we're basically, the survey is to be sent to youths and folks that know the youths and work with them. And then basically, once we are informed of their interests, we will go ahead and recruit all of the speakers and plan our final series at the end of this month. So I will go ahead and put that on in the chat, and I also share it with VJ. I will also put my email address. If you have any questions at all, or there's anything that you want to know, please feel free to reach out. This is for community, so we're here to support in any way that we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirmala. Dangui Zhang is next.
Hi, I'm here. Hi, I'm Dong Hui. Thank you, VJ. Thank you, CEC, and thank you, Dr. Date. Thank you, everyone. So I think, you know, regarding to the diversity plan, I strongly agree that the first two speakers, Irene and Jean Han, you know, that, and I also strongly support Michael Morrison's to be proposed the resolution to stop the funding for WXY. So I think before the COVID season, the whole community, the CEC28, we had like a 6-month debate, and the parents, the community, the CEC, we have made it very clear that we do not want a false diversity from DOE, which would do nothing but shuffling kids around and adding extra burdens to the parents and adding more safety concerns to the kids traveling. So it really does nothing. So yes, we do have schools underperforming. We do have kids underperforming in this district. But what we all want from the southern parents to the northern parents, we had made it very clear that we want the DOE to spend effort to fix the schools rather than a false diversity. We are already diverse. Quincy is the most diverse place of the world. And each of our school, each of our classroom is already diverse. So we don't know what the hell the DOE is talking about, you know, to implement such a diversity plan. So from that perspective, I strongly support that Michael Morrison's resolution to be proposed to cut the funding for WXY, but spend the money, spend the precious money, spend the taxpayers' money to, you know, to deal with the pandemic, to deal with the pandemic impacts, and to fix our classroom, to improve the quality of education. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next one is Filani Adedok. Hopefully I'm saying the name correctly. If not, I apologize.
Yeah, it's fine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Filani,
yeah,
go ahead.
My name is actually Adejoke. I'm from Nigeria, and I have 2 questions to ask you. For students in the middle and high school that takes MTA bus to school, when do they start applying for the Metro card, the student Metro card? And let's take, for instance, we have, like my daughter, I enrolled her for remote learning, and she'll be in 7th grade by September. When am I supposed to apply for the MTA Metro card for her to go to school? That's my first question. And my second question is scheduled for the remote learning. Is it going to be the same thing as the online? Is it going to be the same time?
Dr. Pate, Dr. Gavaya?
Yeah, so the first question is about Metro cards.
Yes.
Actually, I have a response. I'm excited to have a response to this about busing. I forgot about this point. Thank you for this question. So schools will be supplied with Metro cards. So that is not a problem. That actually is, that should be a given. Schools will be giving our students Metro cards so that they can get to and from school.
Yeah.
It's the school bus, the students with the school buses piece, that's still being negotiated. I hope that answers that question. So that's not an issue. And then I was trying to understand is it a question about remote learning being the same as it looked in the spring? Or is that the question?
No, the question is the remote learning. We applied for 100% remote learning. Is it going to be the same time, like the schedule for the in-person learning?
Right, so, okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, so it will be whatever the schedule is of the school. So you will be alerted of that. And then you'll have, earlier I talked about the synchronous versus the asynchronous. So your school will be providing you a schedule of when the synchronous teaching would be. That would be when your child, she's in 7th grade. So let's say when the ELA teacher is teaching live, when the math teacher is teaching live, when the science teacher is teaching live, you will be given a program. And then you'll also know when the asynchronous is happening, meaning that there's work posted. So at this point, all parents should have an email address that's set up for their child's school account. And through that school account is where you would be emailed all this information.
And then for the MTA bus, for the Metro card for students, what about we applied for remote learning? When are we
if you are a remote learning student, I said, I know the priority will be for blended learning. If you are, the idea would be that you need a Metro card to get to school. So if you are 100% remote learning, the prioritization is with blended. And then if there's something happening in terms of like after school activities that your child is coming to the school for, then you would get a Metro card. But I know that the Metro cards are for children who are actually commuting to school. So if you're fully remote, we cannot guarantee you a Metro card.
And then by the time we
because you're not
change,
going, you're not coming to school.
So when we change November to in person, are we going to get the remote? Are we going to get the Metro card then?
Yes. Oh, if you were to choose blended, yes. Yes.
By November.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up also. What Ms. Filani is referring to is the this quarterly throughout the school year, you would be able to change from remote to blended or blended to remote. So that first window, I believe, is the last week of October and begins on November 1st, that the switch would be. So if you say, you know what, blended learning is not working for me, I'd rather go remote, you do have this week in October coming up where you can put in and say, I'd rather be remote, and then remote learning would begin for your child on November 1st and vice versa. I believe it's a monthly Metro card, like just similar to it's a monthly Metro.
It's the same Metro card. So they generally had the 3 rides each way, and yes, it's the same Metro card.
All
Next
right,
question.
let's move on to Limor Nesher. Limor, please.
Hi.
Hi,
everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Good to see you. I'm a little bit confused and I have a lot of concerns, but let's start with something we heard before. So we are not sure about anything yet, and if we are going to have state exams or not, and it's basically saying we are not sure if we can bring your kids to state level in the spring. And our level of education is not going to be sufficient. And maybe then we can't even do state exams because we're not prepared for it. And then maybe my child that didn't do state exam in 6th grade and won't do state exam on 7th grade won't have anything to show when she goes to sign up for high school. So basically, why? We have enough time, we had enough time, and we can prepare. And if you think that you're going to have a rigorous remote learning experience or blended experience, we really want our kids to be on state level. We don't want them to be behind for their own knowledge and for their own advance. And then we don't want them to miss another state exam. We want you guys in the DOE and in our communities to fight that our kids will sustain their academics, which is important. So yes, hard work should be honored. However, the level has to be determined, and state exams are one way to maintain that and hold everyone accountable, both the teachers and both the students, to learn and perform. Now, if we're not ready and we don't know anything, how do we know that we need diversity plan? This is also disturbing. Everything is like scramble. So it's disturbing because the diversity plan is very complex and it's supposed to be a community engagement. Maybe that's going to change, but we have to keep in mind that we are in a pandemic and everyone has their own catastrophe at home. And whether they think that somebody is more privileged than somebody else, everyone seems to be in the same bucket. And I strongly oppose to any extreme measures now or next year, before we know what academics we can give our kids and how can we empower every child at least to be on a state level, which is not to overperform, God forbid. So hopefully something like that would be under your radar and you can help us at least maintain the state level of our children in this city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Limor. Josh from Positive Learning Collaborative is next. Josh, can you unmute yourself? If Josh is not here, let me see if he's here.
We can just move on and he can come on after.
Sure. We'll move on to Maria Henriquez. Maria? All right, if Maria is not here, we're gonna move on to Ari Feldman.
I'm sorry.
Hi, good evening.
Hold on. Maria, are you here?
Are we sure they're not in the other room? The translation room? It's just. Please check. Yes.
Can our Spanish interpreters check if Maria Henriquez or Josh from Positive Learning Collaborative? I don't see them in the.
Okay, while they look on that, we can just go ahead with the other ones. So Carolina Gomez and Nicholas, can you please check and see if those names are in your room with the interpretation? Can you repeat the names, please, Elena?
Maria Henriquez and Josh from Positive Learning Collaborative.
I just
So, Ari,
posted on the line, and I haven't heard anything yet from anyone.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ari Feldman, why don't you proceed, and we can come back to Josh and Maria.
Great, thank you so much. So I was really surprised to hear a few speakers talk about a resolution that has not been spoken about at all in this part of the meeting. So it's really concerning to me that Micah Morrison would bring a resolution and that we wouldn't be talking about it at all during this meeting, that it could be voted on. Seems like pretty much in the dark. Like, I know that the business meetings are public meetings, but there's not an expectation that that is the part of our meetings that everybody hears about. So it's really concerning to me that we're not having an open dialogue about this, to actually hear Micah Morrison talking to all of us about his resolution, about why we have this resolution, and instead have some, I guess, insider knowledge of people who maybe, I guess, talk to Micah or whoever else to hear about this resolution, without all of us being able to actually listen to it and hear why we would be ending this this relationship with WXY. To the points of those speakers, it's really concerning to me the way that it's being slanted. The point of the diversity planning process is equity, right? We want to have conversations with people across the district to talk about what does equity look like. And we are in a pandemic, and it is not equitably affecting everyone, right? Different people are being affected in much different ways. We know that communities of color are being impacted much more than other communities. And it's a way for us to come together and discuss what's going on in our schools. How are your families being impacted? So to bring a resolution saying, let's not talk between our communities is concerning to me. I also wanted this, on a related note, to know about what's going on with SEL. We have a lot of kids who are—
1 minute remaining.
Thank you. We have a lot of kids who are coming back from situations that are all over the place, right? Some kids have had some extreme trauma. Kids are in crisis. And I'm really concerned that we could end up having kids who are getting funneled through the school to prison pipeline. So I'd like to know, since we have Dr. Pate, Dr. Degovia here, I'm curious, what are our plans for making sure that we are treating students, you know, with respect, and making sure that we're not being punitive with kids who are in trauma.
Thank you, Ari. We want to leave time for your question to be answered. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question, Mr. Feldman. So we do have the bridges to, and thank you for asking. Tammy, we have to add this to our slides. Yeah. Yep. So we have the Bridges to Learning program, which is coming out of Deputy Chancellor LaShawn Robinson's office. It is a very detailed program, and we can get this to you, President Ramjatan. Also, this is available. Basically, it's laying out the first 10 days to a month's worth of learning of what school entry needs to look like. We're not going to just jump right in. We're going to make sure that the wellness of our children are first. And what you'll find in the Learning to Bridges program is everything from icebreakers, lesson plans that are directly aligned with social emotional learning and putting those pieces forward. This is, in my presentation, I highlighted SEL in the middle. It is, and I guess hence the reasons why it's called the Bridge to Learning. We really will have a hard time this year getting into teaching and learning if we don't deal with the wellness of our children. The recognition that our children were pretty much yanked out of school in March and haven't seen the inside of a school, or many children did not experience synchronous learning and being with a teacher in a space. We can't ignore that. So Deputy Chancellor Robinson's office has come up with a plan in which principal and teachers will be trained in to help basically create a pillow for our children as they walk into the schools. We're also very much concerned for the same thing. I don't know if Amy's still on here, but for our teachers, the idea that it's the teacher's first time returning too. So making sure that the wellness of all stakeholders are at the table, and that there's a memorialized curriculum in place to help soften that blow and really help deal with our children and trauma. In addition to that, principals in New York City all went through a week-long professional development this summer around trauma-enforced leadership and trauma-enforced teaching, so that they are sensitive to and recognizing the characteristics of trauma and how to manage for our children who may have breakdowns in the middle of our school day because it's a bit much. At the BCO level, we have the Director of Student Support Services in that division working to support teachers and leaders with professional learning opportunities as well, around bringing in the bridges to learning, as well as fostering other social emotional learning supports in place. So we are on this, and I'm looking forward to hearing parent feedback about how that's going, because we are quite clear that everybody, even in the Zoom room, whether you acknowledge it or not, there's been some loss, there's been some trauma within this time period, and taking a moment to really, feel your heart around that and be vulnerable enough to connect into it helps not only you, but it helps our children as well.
I also want, I also want to add, and thank you so much, Dr. Dugabaya, for giving us that very full explanation of the bridge to learning. I also want to add that I am working with our BCO partners to provide, as you know, we've pushed school back so that we can have a bit more time with our teachers and other school staff to acclimate them and to support them in learning that will help them be as effective as possible. One of the things that we're also going to do is provide the entire district, every teacher, every staff member in District 28 will engage in professional learning workshops along with our BCO partners in in our cell work, social emotional learning, and responding to trauma in students. We are actually meeting tomorrow to further discuss this, but it is my desire to ensure that every single professional in our building, even in our remote building, has at least a toolkit. Some have really big toolkits, others have small ones, but everyone will have at least a toolkit to, one, recognize when students are exhibiting behaviors of trauma, and also they approach teaching and learning with a sensitivity, with a knowledge that the social emotional health of children dramatically impacts their ability to learn. And I could say more about how trauma impacts learning. You all have heard me speak about this on many, many occasions, but we are, you put your money where your mouth is, you put your planning where your heart is. And for us, taking that time at the beginning of the school year on the 10th through the 14th to ensure that our teachers and other professionals are ready to support the vast needs of our students is important. And that's what we're doing at this very local level. So for every B28 school.
Thank you. With your next question.
I'm gonna go back and ask one more time for Positive Learning Collaborative. Josh, I saw him on, I pinged him privately, and now I don't see him on anymore. Just one more time. And Maria Henriquez, the same thing. I don't see her in the audience unless she came in under a different name. All right, moving on. Next is Siobhan Jackson.
Hi, good evening, everyone. How are you?
Sounds good, good.
Okay, so I have two things that I wanted to bring up. One is I wanted to know if the DOE has been collaborating with MTA to have quality transportation for the students that are entering in hybrid learning. We are talking about the safety of the students in school, but what about the safety prior to the kids getting into the school? It's really unfair to say that the kids are going to be, you know, not exposed in the school to COVID, but the buses are packed, the trains are packed. You know, has the DOE considered maybe having a discussion with maybe having bus pickup for the children that are doing hybrid learning, or maybe having MTA work with them with bus services for kids taking transportation back and forth to school? This is something that should be considered, because even if the children are safe in school, some students do have to travel on public transportation, and those areas are not safe at all because the buses and trains are going to become very packed with people this fall. And then the second thing is, you know, I'm part of the District 28 Diversity Board, and I hear back and forth parents say that this is not important. And I think it's good that this epidemic happened. It's a curse and it's a gift at the same time, because I think now DOE should be able to start from scratch. There shouldn't be a reason why there is kids not receiving quality education. Everyone should start on the same level now. The students should receive laptops, quality education. There's no excuse anymore. It's not really about a racial equity thing here. And I think all parents are saying the same exact thing. It's not about interacting with different races. It's about having quality education for every last child. Our children are our biggest investments. And it's sad that DOE doesn't see that we're bringing our largest investment to them, the precious jewel that we have in this world, to them. And they're not giving our children quality education. Not that they go to Southern schools, Northern schools, Queen schools. Every child should receive the same education all around. And this is the time that DOE should be able to start from scratch, and no child should be left behind at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
I didn't want to, can I just address Ms. Jackson's, the first part of her?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you for the MTA piece. So thank you for that. I will lift that question. That's a question at this point. I do know, Ms. Jackson, in terms of priority for busing, it is children with disabilities at this point. But again, the guidance is still forthcoming around busing, as they are still negotiating contracts with busing companies. But I will lift your piece around the safety measures for that have high traffic patterns of our children taking MTA. Thank you for that point.
Elena. Next speaker, Elena. Elena, are you there? Please go ahead and call
I'm speaking on mute. Yes, next speaker is Simone Dornbach.
Hello, good evening, everyone. First, I would like to thank you and welcome our new executive superintendent. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed your presentation, and I'm happy to know that we're in good hands. I also would like to thank Dr. Pate and her team, as well as Faith and Sonia Rueda, who has been available to the PTAs and PAs in our district for like 24/7. And as always, thank you, District 28 CEC, for making arrangements so that we can have this meeting and ask all kinds of questions. And I also want to welcome the new CEC member. Welcome. I have a question. I am, like Siobhan, also a part of the diversity working group. And I attended the meeting in September that was convened by the DOE alone. And we're talking about transparency. So it was a citywide meeting where the DOE asked if we are available to continue the process, and basically laid out that right now nothing is really clear. There's a desire to continue with the diversity plan, but there is really nothing clear. They haven't gotten in touch with WXY. There was no conversation in which capacity WXY would be continuing. And I'm just curious where you get this information that WXY is gonna continue by being paid by the DOE, because that information I did not get, and I was part of that meeting. So I'm just curious where that comes from. I am also disappointed to learn about that in this meeting. Just like Ari Feldman stated earlier, why do you introduce a resolution that concerns the entire district at a business meeting when the public is not allowed to make any comments? I do really not understand that, because you, the CEC, has made an effort so that the DOE and WXY and the working group are more transparent. And I think that's a very good idea. I think we all should be very transparent.
1 minute remaining.
You have demanded community engagement, but yet when it comes to this, we are not being asked for our opinion. And I would like to remind the CEC of its mandate. You are representing the entire district of 28. And you're not only representing Queens Parents United. And I'm very disappointed that every single meeting, I need to remind you of this. So please reach out to us. Let us know what's happening. If you want to bring up a resolution, make it in a fashion that is transparent and that also allows public engagement. And then we can see. Thank you.
So, for Simone's question for the first part, I'll ask Howard if he can just respond to the first part, because I think there's some miscommunication about what Howard said and what others interpreted. So Howard, if you could just please reiterate what you said and when you made the announcement at the last meeting, please.
Sure, VJ. Simone's wonderful. I served with her on the working group. At that meeting that we were both at virtually, they said that DOE was desirous of continuing the process with WXY, that they are talking to them. Nothing has been decided. WXY, with conversations that I had with them, said that they are talking to DOE, but again, nothing has been decided. They are talking. Number one. Number two, DOE has said that they are desirous of continuing the process. Whatever shape or form that takes, we are unsure, and that is all that was said regarding this issue.
Thank you, Howard. And in terms of the resolution, at our last business meeting, Michael Morrison did bring up a vote, made a motion to discuss to postpone, and it did not go through. And then he came back with this time, he's announced that he's bringing this new resolution. Allow us to do our part in terms of the CEC, because we have to discuss this, right? He brings the resolution first and foremost to us, and then we as a CEC will discuss this, and maybe it will come back to the public for another discussion, but we have to go through this process. Do know, parents, as your president, I do listen to all your voices. I do hear all your concerns, and if you have known my record so far serving as president, we don't do anything without the parent and the community engagement when it comes to any decisions that we make, that you have entrusted us to make. So rest assured that this is the process that I also am looking forward to. Elena, next speaker, please.
May I briefly clarify, since I was mentioned twice? May I briefly clarify? I brought it up, Howard reported 2 meetings ago that these talks are underway. At the last meeting, I brought up a motion because I was very concerned. I don't want to be talking about this. I don't want to be talking about the pandemic. Paula Dukak, who was her advisor, said, you can't do a motion. You have to do a resolution. That's why I drafted as a resolution. I fully support discussion if possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Micah.
Tina Basin is next.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome new CEC members. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak. My name is Ati Bazin. I'm a parent advocate standing in solidarity with administrators, teachers, and families in support of Resolution 1410 to delay in-person learning and in support of robust and equitable remote learning that is culturally responsive and trauma-informed. I'm essentially going to read to you my testimony during today's council meeting, city council meeting. Reopening schools during a global pandemic is an exercise in futility. Why are we attempting to prop up normal at the expense of our most marginalized and primarily to the benefit of the most advantaged among us, sacrificing those who are less advantaged on the altar of the almighty dollar? We are in a global pandemic. Heed the CEC and heed Dr. Talaj's warnings. What we are attempting to do is nothing short of inhumane. How can we utter the words Black Lives Matter while simultaneously we place Black and Brown communities in harm's way again? This is nothing short of performative allyship, which actually has deadly consequences. In-person learning during a global COVID pandemic is a deal breaker, full stop. Elected officials and DOE leadership do not have a safe enough plan or money to protect teachers, administrators, workers, students, and their families. So why are we pretending? Such an attempt is nothing short also of an absurd and inhumane pretense to pawn off a veneer of safety as something we can rely on in the face of overwhelming scientific data that says otherwise. In-person learning is just not safe. We risk losing human life. Children risk more trauma. Children risk losing parents and grandparents or loved ones. And actually also, I will say, they unwittingly become agents of death, further traumatizing them. Teachers and administrators, they're not frontline workers. Neither are you guys. I'm not. My children are not. And none of us should be pushed into the front lines. And neither are children, as I said, right? So why should they be forced to assume so much risk? We're pitting parents and teachers and administrators all against each other, and we're putting everyone in an untenable position of having to make the false choice between their child's safety and learning versus making enough money to feed and house their children and family members. We all need protection and assurances. And like with 9/11, my husband was there, we can't rely on a patchwork of untenable safety measures and empty promises. We have been here before. What COVID lays bare in closing is who we are as a society, an inequitable society. As individuals, it also lays bare what we're about and what we are about collectively. It also exposes our legacy burdens that we all collectively have to deal with at some point. I strongly request that the discussion about the diversity planning process take place in an equity committee, as the diversity planning process is directly related to creating equity, inclusion, and integration for the district. That is the more appropriate space for this discussion. This is also an opportunity to live out our stated values and finally to be an equitable society that we all claim we want to be. It is an opportunity to lead.
Time.
Black Lives Matter in schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Next up is Julia Dib.
Yes,
Julia,
can
you
you
still
hear
there?
me? I'm here. Can
Yep.
you hear me? Okay, I have a
Yes.
question. Nothing to do with what everyone's talking about. A simple question about, so they put up the asynchronous schedule. You had the slide up there earlier, and my daughter's school had shared it also, but it's not specific as to how much time is going to be asynchronous and how much time is going to be synchronous, because the slide is not, it's misleading. It says total education screen time per day, inclusive of both, but then it doesn't say how much time. I guess my question is, I'm concerned because the last 3 months that my daughter was in 3rd grade, I think she met with her teachers 3 times in 3 months. And the rest of the days as I was working, I became the teacher and I had to teach her myself, because a 3rd grader is not going to sit down and go through all these papers that they're putting up and all these lessons and make any sense of it and actually learn anything from it. So I had to work and then come home, and then I had to teach her myself all the stuff that I didn't know, and I had to learn myself, because basically they teach everything differently now. So I had to relearn everything. So I guess my question is there a way that we can know how much time they're actually going to have, like, in-person teaching, synchronous, as you guys call it, one-on-one? Is going to be like 50% of the 108 minutes, or is it going to be like 2% of the 100 or whatever minutes?
So so first of all, Ms. Dibb, understand that I'm your sister in this. So I had a first grader in the spring and teaching while managing back-to-back meetings and making sure that her learning didn't fall behind. So I completely agree with you. And my agreement this year is that that won't be happening in my house. It just will not be. So to that end, I was in a conversation today about the very question that you're asking. The slide that Dr. Pate showed was the initial set of minutes. The idea is that over the course of the year, thank you for bringing that back up again, Tammy. So you'll see that over the course of the year, it increases. So what I would ask for parents to be strong advocates for is that the synchronous piece remains alive. And Amy, as our UFT rep, to please keep this going with the teachers as well. This is going to be, I believe, the saving grace for remote learning. We cannot have parents working and teaching their children simultaneously. There have to be synchronous moments that are stipulated throughout. So you'll notice in September, for example, in kindergarten, it's 65 to 75 minutes a day. Ms. Dibb and all the parents online, please be advised that you should be getting a program that would lay out for you when those moments would be. As you move to October, you see it increases to 70 to 80 minutes, and November 80 to 90, January to February 120, and then we will have a revamping again, because hopefully, hopefully COVID-19 would be done with us, because I know we're done with it. But hopefully by that point, we'll start to see some changes. And if not, the idea though is that the synchronous piece increases over the course of the year. The intention was, and believe me, there are times when I definitely clarify, this is mommy, Maury speaking, not the executive superintendent. You cannot do that to parents. I'm a strong advocate for this one because I'm a single mom myself, and I know the pain of navigating work and teaching your children. And I'm an educator, and it was like I didn't have a Judy clock to go over how to teach time. And like there's a lot of catch up that I had to do in the summer with my children to make sure that all standards were met. So I'm completely with you on this, but know that you will be, and you should be, and if you don't, please let us know, getting a schedule that really details for parents, like what's happening when. Some schools are for the blended piece, some schools are using color codes and so forth to help parents keep track of their schedules. Robocalls will be used, but you should definitely have a posted schedule that you can refer to so you would know, what, your teacher's going live and you missed this concept. You should be able to email the teacher. And to that point, parents, please be advised that there is a 20-minute office hours that teachers will be given on a daily basis for families. So you should find yourself in a rotating schedule of being able to connect in with your child's teachers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Clavin is next. Lauren?
Yes, hi. Good evening. I want to thank Dr. Pate and Dr. Degovia. Thank you for your informative and thoughtful presentations, and thank you for your leadership. I just want to echo the comments made by Ari and Atina. I think that as people who choose to live in Queens, what we really do care about is equity, and we all want an equitable and fair education for our children. And we know the fact is that New York City schools are the most segregated in the nation, and so are our surrounding suburbs, and that's something that needs to change. I think that the discussions that we're all having, we get confused with this vocabulary of diversity and inclusion and equity. But the fact is we're talking about segregation, and that still exists in the 21st century, and that's unacceptable. And it needs to be addressed. And that's all I have to say. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next is Brett Yorman.
Hi, my husband, we're here. My son is going to be starting kindergarten, and my question is regarding the screen time with the laptop. I understand it's going to be, when he's at home, he'll be on that. And then when he goes to school, is he going to be using a laptop there as well? Because currently I have just one laptop. Am I supposed to send this in with him? Or is there going to be no screen time when he's scheduled to go into school?
School. Oh, go ahead, Dr.
Sorry.
Bate.
No, please, go ahead. So
no, I was going to say that's okay. I got this. All right. So schools should be live teaching. The sensitivity around the amount of screen time our youngsters will be facing in blended and remote will be balanced out with live teaching. We do have some schools, for example, though, where there are no medical accommodations. So like say the staff is 100% showing up in person, but we have remote children. So in those cases, those teachers would be teaching remotely inside the school to children who are at home. But if your youngster is in a blended model, when he's at home, the slide that we just showed, that's how much synchronous versus asynchronous instruction you could expect. And when he goes to school, you would not have to, you could leave your laptop at home and you would not have to bring it along as your son would be having his live teacher.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next up is Susanna Collard.
Hi, good evening. I'm Susanna Collard and I'm a parent of 2 kids in the district. And I wanted to first thank both Dr. Degovia and Dr. Pate for your leadership and your presentations tonight, as well as the CEC from District 28. I appreciate your leadership as well. I'm a mother and I'm also a product of Chicago Public Schools, where I experienced an extremely diverse childhood in my school, where our classes were diverse not just by race, but also by class, and also by country of origin, ethnicity, and ability. And I think that shaped me. And I think it's incredibly important that my children have that experience. And when I was looking for schools in this district, I noticed that was not the reality, that while some of our schools look really diverse, like people from lots of different countries, economically, a lot of wealth is concentrated in a few schools, while other schools do not have that same wealth or parents' ability to contribute to it. And so while I'm new to this diversity plan process, I'm really excited to see the outcome in District 15 that WXY did. That outcome seems like its proof is in the pudding. And so that has given me a lot of hope for this district. And I would hope that there's no more delay. And as a working mother, I appreciate all the other working parents out there. This is the opportunity I have to participate in these processes because now they're online. And so I do wonder if maybe we have an opportunity here to do more community involvement. We are at home, we can be on the phone and on video more. And so I would really hope that this diversity plan process moves forward with equity as a central tenet, but that we open this conversation up and we really think about, are we talking about sharing all of our resources equitably throughout our community and throughout our schools? Because I know that that really benefited me, and I know it benefited my classmates as a child, and I hope that that can be true in our district as well moving forward. Thank you so much for all of your time.
Thank you, Susanna. Brian is next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Farr. I'm a parent of a child at PS354, and then my other daughter is starting 6th grade at MS217. The question I have for this evening is the learning management system that both of my kids have been familiar with is the Google Classroom. And I just want to find out if that's going to stay, or is DOE planning on building their own type of learning management system, or are we going to stick with whatever it started off with? Another question is, how do we know that the PPE will actually be delivered to each school? I know it's been, on the news and every place, each school is definitely getting the PPE. Just want to know, is there a way to verify how much or the specific amount to us, each school, so parents know? And another question I have is attendance. How will the attendance really be checked for kids that are fully remote, and also for students on the days that students are going to be, home, even if they're on a blended schedule? How is attendance being taken? Because end of last year, we had got a report that, hey, your kid missed some days, and it wasn't that they missed days on attendance. It was, assignments weren't checked or something. So I just want to know if there's a way to verify how the attendance will be going for that. Thank you.
So you'll be happy to know that your future principal, Principal Patrick Burns, actually did a presentation to all of the principals in District 28 around the learning management system, the LMS. And he is a huge fan of the Google suite, as is Principal Askew. And so those will be your systems moving forward into the school year. The Department of Education does have plans to engage some migration into a singular plan, but they do recognize that it will be incredibly disruptive to try that at this moment in time. So your schools, what they have used already will continue to be their platforms. There's a couple of questions. I don't know, Dr. Digovaya is jumping in.
So hi everyone. So just one thing, my last name is Digovaya, and everybody thinks it's Digovia, but it's Digovaya. It's Portuguese, not Spanish. As a member of the Difficult Name Club, I found myself often having to correct people, but please note that it is Digovaya. Mr. Farr, your question around PPE. So we are conducting walkthroughs right now. So I did 3 so far this week, basically checking for that very thing. Now, in terms of the assurance that the PPE will be there, that is on the borough's citywide office. My director of operations there, Narayan, he is working tirelessly to make sure that that fact is true, that 100% of the PPE equipment will be delivered. At this point, my request to superintendents and therefore to their principals is to let me know if they have gotten or in the process of getting their second round of 30-day supplies. The DOE will be sending the supplies for PPE in 30-day rounds. Now, in terms of you having access to that, I have to find out what measures would be put in place. I haven't heard anything in terms of that being public, because the walkthroughs are the stopgap to make sure that that material is there, present. And if it's not, then we raise the red flag so that by the time schools are open, we have everything we need. At this point, I would say for the schools, what I could get for you, and Dr. Pate, let's remember to do this. For the next CEC, we can tell you like the percentage of schools and the results of the walkthroughs. I don't know when your next meeting is, but we're starting off remote the 16th and we go live on the 21st as of now. We can definitely get you those numbers in terms of, what schools were ready. But trust and believe, if a school, for whatever reason, does not have PPE equipment, we're not going to be able to move forward, and there'll have to be another piece in play. The things like, everything from the batteries for the thermometers, the solution for the electrostatic sprayer, all of those pieces have to be in play. So when I'm doing the walkthroughs, it's not just, oh yes, we have it, no we don't. It's show me what you have. So I've been in supply closets, I've seen where the masks are, I've seen where the gowns are, where the gloves are. Principals have counts on their boxes, so that piece is in play. But I could definitely get the community. I don't think that should be a problem to get the community the walkthrough stats, and then just keeping you informed of how the 30-day supply deliveries are going. That should not be a problem to get you those numbers as we move forward. I'm sorry, Mr. Farr, you had one more. What was the last part of your question? You had 3 parts.
The last part was about the attendance, how attendance would be taken.
Attendance, thank you. So that's about engagement if you're remote. So similarly, so I'm sorry to hear that your child was marked absent, because what should have really been happening with the pieces, and I experienced it myself, was if, let's say my daughter may have gone on later because I had meetings in the morning, so I couldn't do remote learning simultaneously, and she would do her work later, I would either A, alert her teacher that her work is going to be done, or B, when I sent the work in, the teacher would call me and say, okay, I just please be advised that I'm adjusting her attendance. So you should have been getting, so this, it can't just be, I didn't see you online, therefore you're absent. So that's one thing. So we'll make sure we talk to our principals about that to make sure that, you know, that's clear. But it is about engagement if you are remote. So that means your child is logging into the learning management system. If there are extenuating circumstances in the home at that moment where your child can't participate, please email and reach out to the teacher. And that's why those 20-minute office hours are really essential, because we want to make sure that we're in communication with one another and that your child is not marked falsely absent. And if your child is submitting work for the day as a remote student, all of those pieces count into the attendance factor as well. All right, so your child's work matters. And of course, if you're blended and you're going in for the day, your attendance is taken as it normally would be taken. So please, you know, make sure your children are signing in. If you're having issues with logging in for whatever reason, and I saw a question earlier on about the iPads and is the DOE still giving out iPads? The answer is yes. If you were to even Google iPads NYC DOE distribution, a form should come up and you should be able to fill it out. And Dr. Pate gave the stats about the devices that are still being distributed out. Every child in New York City public schools at this point who is in need of a device, that shouldn't even be a question at this point. You are definitely entitled to one and you can still receive one, as we have so many of our youngsters who are working remote, so they need their iPad. So please, parents, if you are in need of a device, just Google NYC DOE, you know, devices, and you'll see information will come up and there's a form for you to fill in. Fill out that form and someone will get in contact with you. Parents also, because I'm talking about devices, for those of you who do have devices, you should have been getting text messages or emails about making sure that your device is ready for the upcoming school year. So just please be on the lookout for those emails and those text messages, just to let you know what you need to do to make sure that your work is updated and that your information is updated so that your children can have access to whatever remote learning opportunities are there. Thank you.
And I would also add, Mr. Farr, if you find yourself experiencing any of this sort of like glitches in attendance, I promise you that our district office is extraordinarily responsive. If you run into an issue, please contact us. I will ask Sonia if you will put into the chat the email addresses again. We will support you in correcting any kind of attendance record of that nature.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Next question is from our CEC member, Barbara Williams.
Yes, good evening. Thank you all for coming. So my during the slide, I'm just gonna say Dr. D because I don't want to mess your name up and I can't pronounce it. If I'm mistaken, somebody correct me, but I thought I saw something about mandatory testing, COVID testing for kids going into school. My question is, if I don't sign as a parent, sign that form for my kid to be tested, and they're in blended learning, what's going to happen to my child? Will they not be allowed to go into the school because they're not tested?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Williams. So the slide actually was about the voluntary testing. I verbally said about 2 days ago, they came up with the idea that this was in conjunction with the UFT to keep folks safe, that there would be random mandatory testing beginning in October. We still don't have the confirmed guidance on that just yet. So when I mentioned it to the CEC, I was mentioning it as an FYI, it's coming down the pipe, but that's one of the questions that I have as well. We want to make sure that, because the adults are one thing, right? For a teacher to be, and they have within their rights to deny or say yes. And then of course for students, we would need, absolutely, we would need parent permission. So we're still waiting to hear what that looks like. I know the UFT has given within their FAQs direction around this, but we haven't quite heard what the operationalization of it will look like. You know, what is it actually going to look like when it's actually happening? But it is coming down the pipe, and it's expected to land in October. So hopefully by the next time we have the next CEC meeting, you know, we will have greater clarity about what that looks like. And the other thing I do want to your question though, and I thank you for your question, Ms. Williams, because it brings up the larger point about parent agency. And I saw Ms. Ketchum had asked a question. I'm trying to follow the chat. The CEC is a chatty bunch. And I was trying to follow. There was a question that was asked. But the bottom line made me think about parent agency when I read the question. It was from Ms. Ketchum. I don't see it now. It's already gone. Parent agency, and you know, the whole point of being a part of the CEC, being in this meeting, I'm listening to all the varying points of view, is really to exercise your agency as parents, right? Closed mouths don't get fed. And until we get to a place where we are clearly, you know, deciding via our communication who we are and what we stand for within our children, we won't know what's possible. So I really thank everyone for their questions, because, you know, you're right, Ms. Williams, we can't make you give your child a mandatory test. And I love the wording of it, random, mandatory, right? And that's how it's been phrased. That in itself sounds like an oxymoron, right? But at the end of the day, it's about parents and their voice. And please, you know, continue to use it because this is going to influence how this guidance rolls out. But know that, you know, I know it's hard at times for parents to trust public agencies, because it always seems like, you know, are they thinking things through? You know, where are they coming up with these policies and these ideas? But know that we really want to see the best happen for your children. As I said before, I'm a mom of two public school children. I didn't put my children in independent schools. I didn't put my children in charter schools, because I was a product of public schools and I really believe in them. So trust and believe that you have champions in me and Dr. Pate, her team, who really want to see the best happen. And we're all doing this for the first time in a pandemic. So, you know, we thank you for trusting us. And you're right, Ms. Jackson, your most precious jewel, your greatest gift, and it is our children. So please exercise your agency and keep these questions coming, because I'm also being inspired very much so by this group about what I'm going to be bringing back to the table, about what the community is saying beyond, because I know what's going on in my head as a parent, but it's exciting to hear what else other people are thinking as well. So thank you for that share. I wanted to say that before the night ended. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So much. All right, and the last question of the comment of the day is Melissa Mancuso, I think.
Mancuso, thank you. Thank you, Elena. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. Thank you to the CEC for inviting Dr. Pate and Dr. Dugovaya. Thank you, Dr. Pate and Dr. Dugovaya, for your leadership and for all the information that you presented and so many questions that you answered late into the evening. But this is a comment about Micah's resolution. I'm absolutely shocked to hear about this attempt to influence and to halt the diversity planning process. There's a lot more. I'm hearing a lot of commenters on this meeting talking about moving kids around. There's a lot more to diversity planning than just moving children around to different schools. Integrate NYC has named 5 R's of integration, and the city has adopted that framework, and race and enrollment is only one of them. It's also resources, which everyone is concerned about, relationships across groups, restorative justice, and representation. And so I think if we are truly concerned about equitable distribution of resources, if that is a real concern of ours, and it's not a red herring, and it's not a euphemism just to preserve the status quo in our district, which works for some of us and not for others, then we must allow this process to move forward. This is 400 years in the making. We need to continue attempting to dismantle this. The equity issues that have already existed in District 28 have not gone away during the pandemic. If anything, there is greater inequity than ever because of the disproportionate impact on communities of color and on low-income families. I also want to mention that WXY, yes, they were involved with District 15. They were also involved when District 1 did their parent-initiated diversity planning process years ago, before District 15. I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago. District 1, a small district in Manhattan, but the Lower East Side and Chinatown are more than just new, high rises. The parents in that district, the CEC, sought out consultants to do their own studies, to do their own diversity planning, to integrate their schools. And WXY was one of the presenters to them about their study of their district and how they could tweak their enrollment and admissions processes to be more equitable and to integrate their schools. And that was that's a fully choice district. And I don't want to get too much into it because I know it's very different from ours, but it surprises me that there's this sudden concern about the integrity of this group. And I'm not saying they're perfect, but I think we must allow this process to proceed. I share the concerns that others have brought up, Ari and Simone, about why was this introduced at a business meeting? I heard the explanation. I am not satisfied with that. It boggles the mind that out of one side of our mouths, we would call for greater community engagement, and out of the other side of our mouths, introduce a resolution like this at a business meeting instead of a calendar meeting. So I strongly oppose the resolution. I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time, and we must allow the diversity planning process to continue unimpeded for greater equity in District 28. It is, and to just re-emphasize, my understanding is that our prior superintendent applied for this grant. This was not something that the city imposed on us. This was something that District 28 applied for the money to do this planning process, to engage in this work. So we must, yes, Venus, yes, Venus, Black students are brilliant. And they deserve an excellent education too. So we must allow this process to continue. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Vijay, back to you. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yes, I am here. Second. The lights. Okay. So, dear friends, good afternoon again. So, we have reached the end of our meeting. But before we wrap up, I want to call out on Sonia Rueda. We always ask her to wrap things up. If you forget anything, Sonia always have all the updates and anything you may have forgotten. So, Sonia, thank you for your work, your great work, continued work. You are one of those people who knit us together in this community. So, I'll ask you if you could please just, a few words. Would appreciate it, please, Sonia.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure always to be in your presence in this space, even though it's virtual. It's actually a lot better in the sense that we have so many more of us, so that I do have to say that it's very welcoming. I'm always here to support, as well as my colleague, who I know is there somewhere in one of these slides, Ms. Rosa Fenton. But we are always here to support our community, our parents. I put our information in the chat. Parent leaders, just community members at large. I am the one who's doing a lot of the work with the learning devices. That is quite challenging, but we're here, we're gonna press on, so please feel free to reach out whenever you have any questions or just some concerns. Just real quick on the social emotional components, we do meet with parent coordinators on a monthly basis, and that's part of the conversations that we have with them on how can we not only support them to support the school, but them themselves as parent coordinators, so that they can then be charged with the mission of supporting you with parents and our students. So I thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you, Vijay. It's always my pleasure, myself and Rosa, to be here this evening with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of our council members. Thank you for your wonderful work. I know we all have been working tirelessly. to all our community members, all our parents, our principals, Dr. Degovia, Dr. Pate, and everyone else. Thank you so much. It's time. So thank you so much. We'll continue talking. Next, my dear friends, we have our business meeting. Again, a business meeting. Everyone can attend a business meeting and hear how we decide about the resolution, what's going to happen, what's going to be discussed about it. But you're not allowed to speak or ask questions in that business meeting. So the link was sent out in the same flyer. So please join us in 5 minutes for the business meeting. Thank you all. Please unmute, say goodbye, say thank you. And we wish everyone to continue to be healthy and safe. And thank you all for being here tonight. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you all for introducing our executive superintendent to D28 CEC. This was a beautiful meeting. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your voices.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Our UFC
Enjoy your
and
Labor Day
CSA members,
weekend.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Council members will be meeting.
Take care. Have a good night.
Take care, Ted.
Thank
you. Rena Manjares, Principal Manjares is in the house. Yes. Principal Dr. Lucent is in the house. Principal, oh my goodness, Hasbury Signal is in the house. So happy to see you all here. Thank you so much. We started at the top of the meeting and together at 9:08. Welcome, Ms. Kerr, to the CEC. Pleasure.
Much. Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Ketchum. So good to see you.
Good evening.
Yes.
I missed you guys.
Yes. I was wondering where you were. It's a pleasure. Miss Lewis, good to see you.
I would never miss it. My phone was dead and I had to save it for Bayside High School orientation.
Oh, there you go. Okay, everything went well?
Yes, we found out a lot about they're doing the Bayside model, which is fully remote and 1 day for support.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry, I just.
And one of your principals, his son is going to Bayside too, so he called
Really?
me after.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, that's the Queen's way, right? We work over here, we go to school there. It's the Queen's way. Mr. Farr, thank you so very much.
No,
Our interpreters,
my son
thank
plays
you.
football, so we had to find a high school with a football team.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. My daughter, she's been miserable with no softball. It's a thing.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah. She has been miserable. She's happy to get back to blended, so that should be really good. Good evening, Ms. King. Good evening, Miss Ali. Howard, good to see you. Elena, good to see you.
Miss Christie, hello, Miss Christie.
Trying to see everybody. Miss Lee.
I'm Miss Ketchum.
It's good to see you. Mr. Lee. Annie.
Hey, Mr. Howard Power.
Venus.
Hey, Ted.
Bird.
Good
night. Good night, everyone. So you don't need the interpreting service anymore, just to make sure?
Good night.
Thank
you. We're good.
Okay.
Thank you so much for our
Well, take
interpreters
care.
today. This
Well,
was the first meeting.
Maury, thank you
Hey,
so
Miss
much.
Bird. Shout out to the PC Spirit Coordinator.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you to our Spanish interpreters today. This is our first meeting.
Hello, Miss Shirley.
Thank you.
I want to see you, Shirley. Miss Shirley.
Thank you.
Let me see you.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. We'll
There
see you
you
next
go.
month.
Bye. I'm conducting another meeting. So
Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you
Robert,
later.
Take
All
care,
right,
everybody.
CEC members, I'm ending this meeting and we're gonna meet for the business meeting shortly.
Hey, BB. Hey, Crystal. Miss BB, not BB. Miss BB.
Miss Bibi, you feel free to join our business meeting.
Oh, did BB announce that she's the new district person? No more Paula?
Yes, in the beginning. You missed it, Venus.
I was at the Bayside orientation.
We know, and we missed you. It was boring on the chat.
You know, gotta keep parents informed.
Good to see you, Venus. Good to see you.
You know what I mean, Venus. All right, guys, I'm ending the call. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night. Stay safe.
Good night.
Hi, Miss Lewis. Hi, Miss Lewis. I finally get to put a face with the name.
Let me see, Miss Lewis.
Good night.